Hello people, today's video I happen to be making on request, and this is also a topic which is pretty dear to me, and the topic is how do you deal with violence. Now let me put it even more simpler. Violence is something which we popularly know as that which disturbs the integrity of a person, of a system, of something that we usually connect with as gory or very painful, or that which disturbs any sense of well-being and calm. It can also be something as subtle as what we call as negative people. Now, negative people can be, I think it has a more subtler connotation to when we say violent. It's like when we say violent people, we automatically default they must be negative people, they must be antisocial. So we give it on a range of say 0 to 10. We may give them on an extreme, yeah. But when we say negative people, we might consider them to be not violent, they just not so positive. You might not like being around them, or they might not have you feel healthy. So there is a certain, I think, psychologically, meaning wise, we tend to think that negative people need not necessarily be as bad as antisocial people, yeah, and that antisocial people are violent, and what violence means is something gory and with all kinds of war kind of connotations. Or it could be abusive. Yeah. Now, this is something that we deal with on an everyday basis. Now, we can look at it as something light, like you need a certain tension against which, say, the seed needs to grow against, needs to push up and grow again. So in overcoming that resistance, it becomes stronger and builds strength. The seed builds strength and it grows in that strength towards light. So you could say that is also negative. But that negative is something which is a certain light challenge against which you grow. One part. The other thing is dealing with, see, there is light and dark no matter how we look at it. After day comes night, after night comes day. So if you're going to say negative as the absence of light, and or we could also say the light is the absence of dark. Could be it's just a change in perspective, because we always tend to like the light, yeah, as something that is as positive, which is glowing, which is all nice, and that the dark is automatically bad, yeah. So that's also one way of looking at it. That what we tend to see anything that is against us or not conducive to what we are conditioned to thinking as likable, as negative. It may just be that it's a different system of thinking, it's a different constitution than what we are comfortable with, and hence we call what is not so conducive for us as negative. Nevertheless, we encounter different people. We have, being amongst the human race, we have different kinds of people from different cultures, different religions, different ways of thinking, philosophies, and all of them need not be in match with what we think and feel and what we believe as important. So this gives a variety of challenges when we are moving around amongst people, when we are being colleagues, or when we are, say, leading classes, or we are being amongst family members. Family members itself can have different ideas, can have different ways of thinking, ways of, they may have had different experience, and hence they may be different kinds of people. So one of the concerns with Meristem intelligence has been about how do you live amongst people? How do you be in the world with so many different ideations, so many differences? And also, in answering the question, where do I end and another begin? So in this inquiry, there has been several profound learnings and certain developments which has emerged as solutions to problems faced en route. And Nirbija Yoga is one of the things which has come about in being able to support me in being a facilitator. I facilitate therapeutic work on the table, yeah. So it's a clinical work. I do maintenance therapy, and then I needed something more by which to maintain myself, to shield myself from just getting from being a caregiver. You tend to give more, you tend to provide more, so much so that you may tend to lose your own constitution, and you're kind of getting more lost in it. So I'm speaking from what I'm learning, by which Nirbija Yoga has come about. If this could be of help, this is what I find works. And the best protection against something that may be different from our own constitution, or what may seem conducive to our own ways of thinking and being, what would help a person be an individual amongst a crowd, is just that. The answer lies in the question, and that is to inquire pretty deeply into what it means to be an individual. Now, what has me be me? Now, I have a body, I have skin, I can hear, I can see, I can taste, I can smell, I can, what did I miss? I can see. And this is my perspective. This is what I see. This is what I feel and think. And then once I'm really in touch with that, then I can say, this is mine, and what is other than these are somebody else's. It could be coming from my parents, it could be coming from my siblings, it could be coming from my teachers, from whom I grew up all along. Now I have my thoughts, and then I have thoughts which have been told by others as good, but I may not have yet accepted it as true, but it's still there in my thinking process. I could actually hear, if I pay attention to my thoughts, I'll be able to hear what is not my thoughts. I may actually be able to hear the person who first said it. Because it has not become my truth, I would still be able to hear it as somebody else's voice. But because it's coming in words, I may have just said, okay, it's always there, and hence it must be my thoughts. But what usually happens is, what we have not accepted, processed and accepted the truth of in our own experience of living, it's never in our own, say, way how we form a sentence. When we write, a person, how they write a sentence will be different from how another person writes it, because their way of thinking is different from how we think. So similarly, in our thoughts, we will be able to say which is our thought and which is somebody else's thought, based on maybe the grammar of it, maybe the voice, the tone of voice. Your memory would remember, where did it originate? Did it come from a movie dialogue? It will remember as a movie dialogue until you sort of digest it and it becomes your truth. And then you will hear it more in your own expression. Similarly, emotions. Similarly, what you can feel, you can know. This is also, I'm giving it like a crash short version of how to be an empath. When you sort of get really in touch with what you are, you can know what is other than you. So you'll be able to know which is your emotion, which is not your emotion. And usually it could be somebody else's emotion. It could be from your neighborhood. It could be from people around you. You can know. And the best course of action is to stay in. When there is something negative, you tend to really get rooted in what is positive about you. And when you stay in it, it's like you're digging your foot in, so that you're not getting adrift in whatever's coming around you. And that, I have found, is the best way by which you get in touch with your own goodness. Thank you for listening.